Hello, my friends. This is Dr. Ginny Barrow. I want to continue to talk about the frustrations that so many of us in organizations as senior leaders face. And today's frustration is when there is a gap in communication. And I can't even remember how many times I was in an office setting, a corporate setting, where there was some type of conflict because someone didn't communicate the right information to someone else who needed that information to make a decision, or a team member who didn't pass on to a leader information that was required. In both directions, they could be communication gaps. That is one of the issues or problems that we help to address at Executive Bound. For teams to be high performing and for leaders to be high performing, it requires that they both, on both camps, learn the art and craft of powerful communication. That's one of the areas that I personally focus on developing and training when I engage with my partners to develop their leaders. Communication was also the number one skill that we discovered during the field study that I did for my book, Healing Leadership, which was published in 2021. Becoming a powerful communicator, including listening, is a skill set that is critical to leadership success and for teams to thrive and be high performing. So, what we do is we sit down with you and we figure out exactly what are the biggest pain points that your team is facing. And based on your answers, we will craft a customized training that targets those specific pain points with immersive hands-on exercises so they can walk away not only with conceptual knowledge of how to address this concept of having communication gaps and becoming a much influential and powerful communicator, but goes beyond that to practicing the skills that they're learning and the concepts they're learning so they can come up with questions around how do I use it in this context? How do I use that framework in this context? It's experiential learning, and many people have different learning modalities. So we ensure that we touch on the different learning modalities so that people walk away empowered and that they know what to do next to apply and to make the most out of this new skill, or learning how to enhance a skill that they already have that needs to go to a whole new level for your company to truly grow and advance as you know that it can. So, what is it about communication that creates these communication gaps? I think I touched on this a little bit yesterday when I addressed leadership misalignment. This is a different flavor of that. Communication gaps is when information is not flowing in the right direction for people to make the decisions they need to make. The number one solution to the communication gaps is for people to own their role in the communication so everybody knows what information is required, by whom, by when, and for what. And when we are clear on that, and you let me know, for example, Ginny, that you are going to be doing this part, and when you're done with this, please let this other group or function know about what you discovered, or give them the input or the output that they need to then use that information and do their piece. That's required to ensure that everyone who's involved in the decision making in the project, in the initiative, understands their role clearly and that there are no doubts about who is supposed to do what and by when and for whom. And so this is critical as it relates to squashing these communication gaps. As a leader, you also get to see the patterns. You may find that there are specific individuals within your team where these gaps keep recurring, where it's a pattern of behavior that this person can leave out details or information that's required. Or you may notice that it's happening with you. You may notice that your team may be operating under a different set of assumptions than the ones that you're operating under. That's where you need to own that and do a self reflection and say, wait a minute, this keeps happening. Maybe I'm not communicating something that I should be communicating that to you may seem obvious. So we are not blaming anyone. We're looking at what is the current state, and we're looking to create a better future state where either you or the team member that continuously does this comes to a realization and says, wait a minute, something's happening here that we need to fix. And so I always like to approach the person who is the culprit in a very compassionate way, from a perspective of, I know what it's like to work here. We're always moving so fast. Things are going really happening at a fast pace. So I understand how sometimes we can get a little overwhelmed. I've been there myself, and we may forget to share some information, for example, and then you give them the example. And to say, going forward, what is it that we can do to support you in ensuring that everyone who's involved in this particular thing gets the information they need? So you asking it an empowering coaching question, and you're supporting the member in identifying that there is a recurring pattern and that you understand what is going on, you give them compassion, and that you want to address it moving forward. And also give them the tool to say, what can we do? What can you do in the future in order for you to blankety blank? So now the person gets to be part of the solution, not only be giving constructive feedback, but also give you their input as to what they see they may need from someone else, from you, or from the environment. So that is just an example of how we would customize a training for your leadership team or for your specific team about removing and eliminating the gaps in communication that could be causing the team from being more high performing, from delivering the business results and growth that you know they're capable of, and from the team having a better sense of well being. Because, by the way, these communication gaps can cause a lot of conflicts and unnecessary angst among team members. And it also may cause a little bit of, pointing fingers and he said, she said. And that, of course, isn't productive for the team. It doesn't help team morale, it doesn't help satisfaction, productivity, etc. So, with that, I would love to be able to sit with you and identify which are your team's most significant pain points, and then come up with a plan of action. What makes us different at Executive Bound is that we are very nimble. We're able to respond to you at a very fast pace and to be able to customize what we teach and train your team on to deliver specifically along with your objectives so that we're not wasting your time with generic training that makes no sense or doesn't have a real context for your team. If that's you and you would love for us to participate and contribute to you in this way, you can always find me at callwithginny.com. Live with purpose, live with joy, and look out for the master classes I'm going to be putting together that will target each of these different frustrations and pain points that my partners are bringing to me are like a thorn on their side. I want to be able to help you alleviate and remove those thorns. I look forward to connecting soon.